Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is Allie Brown and I'm so happy that you're here today. This is a very important video. I cannot stress enough how this one thing that I do has caused so much transformation in my life and for so many others, and it's kind of science. So stick around. Let me tell you how much journaling has impacted my life. The inspiration for this video came from I have a little agent in my Claude system that goes and scans trending YouTube videos, and for 6 weeks, there's been this trend and it's over and over again, and they're calling it the analog life. It's not my kids' age, but the kids behind them, the generation behind them, they are resisting AI. They are resisting technology. I see these kids, I get so excited because there's these little kids, they're about 8, 9 years old. They go and they're riding their skateboards in the street, and I don't see them with any phones. It's weird because normally the day and age that we live in, you hear about all the crazy things that are happening, but there's this group of kids, maybe they do have phones and I just don't see them, but they're enjoying each other. They're enjoying playing outside. And I told my husband, I was like, you don't even know how much I'm so excited about these children getting sweaty and having fun outside. Because there's been a generation that's behind phones and stuck behind technology, but they're calling this whole thing this analog life. The hilarious thing about it is that is my life. The analog life is my life. I have been doing paper everything. I never let it go. When everyone else was doing what was it called? There was an app. It was called Evernote, I think. When folks started switching to that, I did not. I just continued to stay in my planners. Now, I'm not trying to say oh, look at me, I stayed, blah, blah, blah. It's just the way that I prefer to do things. And it's because I have seen the difference between writing things down and it connecting to memory, which is scientific. I can see how that it's very helpful for me to write things down. I remember way back in the day, back 21 years ago or something, I was a part of a multi-level marketing, and it was called Close to My Heart. Scrapbooking is always very close to my heart, and which is why I created No Sweat Vignettes. My upline was telling me, Allie, if you don't just visualize your goals, but write them out and then post them so you can see them, you will be, I think it was at the time they were saying 60% more likely to achieve them. I don't know what the stat is now for that specific claim, but it is more. It is more if you write down things and you're seeing them. And the Bible proves this. The Bible says this in Habakkuk. It talks about writing a vision down, making it plain, writing it on tablets. So this has been around for a really long time. But journaling literally has kept me preserved from some really crazy things that have happened in my life. Okay, so I'm just going to name off some of the few. I have been to therapy. I've been to counseling and I've been to therapy. All the people that I have seen in chairs and have listened to me, they are always marveling at how resilient is a word, resilient and optimistic. And there's some other words they've lived, but resilient is the biggest word that I have heard when therapists are encountered with me, with my story. I was sexually molested when I was a little girl a few times. I was a part of a marriage where my husband was my abuser. We were separated for a long time. He had a come to Jesus moment. We got back together, and there were some other things in my marriage that happened. Just recently, I had a crazy betrayal happen in my life concerning an entire community. I've gone through a lot of stuff in my life, but I still can carry this joy, and I really attribute that to meeting the Lord in my journal. So it's not just journaling, but it's meeting the Lord in my journal. I don't really have much notes on this. I'm kind of going everywhere, but journaling is your journal will never get tired of listening to you. Actually, it's a pretty cheap form of therapy. For me, what journaling does is it takes everything that is in here, that's in my heart, that's swirling around. And it helps me to put it on a page and get it out of my head so that I can see it. And as I was thinking about this morning, I have no problem being alone with my thoughts. Some people do, but that's something about me that's very interesting that I don't really mind. I like thinking about my thoughts. That's literally one of the first things you should do if you are wanting transformation in your life. The first thing you need to do is think about what you're thinking. And I know it sounds so weird, but that's literally what you have to do. What are you thinking? The easiest place to figure out what you're thinking is coming out of your mouth. One of the thoughts that I have caught myself thinking because I'm hearing it out of my mouth is that I'm so big. This is not a thought that's serving me at all, that I'm so big, I'm so fat. I've actually come a really, really long way in my health journey. I've made some really good changes. Yes, I had a crazy back injury just recently. I cannot move the way that I used to, and I have gained a little bit of weight, but that thought's not serving me at all. So I would need to take time to get alone and with my journal and write about that thought. Ask questions. I'm going to get to that in just a second about the questions. Back to my thing this morning, as I was thinking about this thought of journaling and how much it's impacted me, I was thinking about Genesis 1. Like in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. His spirit hovered over the waters, was formless and void. And he said, let there be light, and there was light. And there was this parallel that I was kind of getting in my heart about how we since we're made in his image, we have this creative ability to take the things that are kind of really hidden in the dark. I say in the dark, not like we're ugly or whatever, but just like in our minds and our hearts, we can say, let there be light in the way of putting them on paper and putting them out in the open and saying, okay, there it is. The unseen can become seen. And the dark can become light. And when you're putting a thought on a page, you're kind of doing a tiny, tiny version of that same thing. So that was really beautiful to me. There's a book that I read that changed my life. It took me a few times to actually get through the whole thing. But it's Anne Voskamp's 1000 Gifts. And she has this quote in the book. And I just loved it so much. Now, she is referring to her writing down all her gifts. It is the most beautiful book that I have ever read on gratitude, and I love her style of writing. But the quote is, because the picking up of a pen isn't painful, and ink can be cheap medicine, and I just might live. That quote, I loved that quote, and it resonated with me because of all the stuff that I've been through. And I have always just naturally journaled ever since I was little. I was dear diarying in the Lisa Frank journals, the little locks. And I continued that. I have composition notebooks and spiral bound notebooks from high school. I just always have journaled. And I think that really preserved me. And it's true. Picking this up physically, it's not painful. Now, it could be painful as you're writing stuff down. But I think that there's something about just getting it out. They have done so many studies. I did an entire course called I Am a Scribe. I'm very, very proud of the course. In fact, I don't have like a crazy big landing page. It is an opus of a course. It was over $100, close to $200 when I sold it. I'm going to try to get just a really quickie order form if anyone wants to get that course. I have a whole lesson in there about the science behind expressive writing. There is a difference. So you have your journaling, right? And sometimes journaling can mean, oh, today I went to Costco and I got chicken nuggets. They were really good at the sample station. That can be like a Dear Diary. And you're talking about what happened. Now, when you're expressively writing, you talk about more of, why did I do that? What did it make me feel? How could have I improved that situation? So this is what I'm wanting to get to, is the questions. It's not just the situation that happened, it's the questions surrounding that situation. That is what's going to unlock for you, like crazy unlock stuff for you, especially when you do it with Jesus. So before I get into the question part, I want to kind of share with you some of the rhythms that I do in journaling. I want to first say, I do not do all of these every single day. I just don't. But they're kind of like a buffet of things that I can choose from. And I do some sort of journaling every single day. So y'all might have remembered me when I was doing these kinds of journals in the Traveler's Notebook. I have some journal flip throughs that you can look at, and I started off in a standard, and then I went to like B6 Slim. B6 Slim has always been kind of like my vibe, but I was doing this kind of stuff with a lot of color, tip ins galore, all that. And it was fun. It was super fun. And I started getting a little simpler in my journaling. So I moved from these traveler's notebooks to this, which is a standard, just regular notebook from Sterling Ink. So you'll see this is how my vignettes were born, is that I was doing these photo stickers with just a little bit of washi and stuff like that. And this is how I would journal. Then I decided that I wanted to do most of my journaling in my planner. So I got the Common Planner, which came out. This is a planner, and it's got tons of paper in the back. So I decided to start doing my journaling, like my lighter journaling, inside the Common Planner. And this is a week size. There's a ton of videos if you want to look at all that. But this is kind of like lighter stuff. Some just little documentation and things like that. I have continued with this year doing it. See, there's a little vignette. There's a vignette. There's a vignette. Here's a vignette, a bigger one. So all of my lighter journaling goes in here. That's more of like the documentation. I do some expressive writing in there. But most of the time when I need to really expressively write, it's because I need to encounter the Lord in a situation. Something has happened, or I am, again, I got this thought about me being big and me not being able to lose weight, or whatever the thought that's not serving me, that needs to go in this one. So this transformed into Immanual journaling. And this is what I teach inside my program. It's God with us journaling. What it is, it's the way for you to feel seen, heard, validated, that someone's glad to be with you, that they can do something about this, and that someone is Jesus. And there's a pain processing pathway in your brain. If you're not able to go through that pathway, then things really remain really big for you. Like the situation that you went through, it remains big in your brain. You're not able to look back on it like a story. You need somebody to attune to you, to soothe you, to comfort you, and that's the Lord in my life, and it's Holy Spirit in my life. This journaling, it's not a technique, it's just a journaling with Jesus. It's Emmanuel journaling, has so helped me with going through painful things. In fact, because I knew about this journaling, I was able to go through that crazy situation that happened recently fairly easily. Like the therapist for that situation was just marveling at the connection my husband and I had together, marveling at our resilience. He was just, what in the world? And I told him about the type of journaling. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And he had never heard about it before. So I do Immanual journaling. I'll do like some, documentation of daily stuff. I have an Ebenezer binder. We use that in our program too. It's basically like a collection of memorials to the Lord where he's been faithful in my life, and just being able to erect those memorials in paper and creativity and a binder, and I can always go back to them and strengthen myself and the Lord if I'm having a hard day. There's a book that I have in the front where it's got some morning pages, and I start with gratitude, and I, have a thought that I'm practicing. Every day I practice a thought. I believe the scripture that we can be transformed by the renewing of our mind. So I, every day, practice a new thought. Some of the thoughts that I've practiced that have completely transformed my life is I have plenty of time to do what matters most. Another thought that I've practiced is I enjoy finding nutrient-rich foods to fuel my body. That's one that's really fun. It's really important to make sure that you have some sort of way to get stuff out, or you'll just get some constipation for the soul. You know what I mean? This is a shift that's going to change your life. I promise you, if you can sit with your thoughts and then ask questions about them and then process that with yourself, it's crazy. Now, I'm going to show you a little formula that I learned from a coach that I used to work with. I have my Remarkable here, and this will be really easy. I want to show you visually. I feel like you'll be able to remember it better if I show you this formula that I learned from my coach. Your quality of life equals the quality of the question you ask you. QL equals Q question mark yay. This is why I feel like all of the therapists that I've sat down with are like, what? What have you done? You are not disassociating. You're actually very present. It doesn't seem like you're fractured. And I'm like, I just journal. I journal with Jesus specifically, but yeah, I journal. So think about these questions. For instance, here's a question that, I'm in this health journey. We're talking about stewardship of our bodies in the Joy Revival this month. And one of the things that I've been really asking the Lord about is my sweet tooth. And I did like a whole Bible journal page in the membership. And the question I'm asking myself is, why do I keep going to sugar to soothe? Which is a very helpful question. That's a very helpful question. You should know why you do things. Why do I keep going? Because this is a neural pathway that I formed over my life, and sugar's sweet, it's easy to access, it's physical. But the higher quality question, like that's a good question, but a higher quality question would be, how can I interrupt this pathway and go to Jesus for soothing instead of sugar? How can I do that? What are some things I could do? And then just start writing down those things. Maybe that's don't buy anything at all. A unit purchased is a unit consumed. Do not bring it into the house or you're toast. Maybe it can be before going to the grocery store, just making sure that if that desire to purchase the thing, walking away from it and praying with the Lord and asking Him to help you. That is a great quality question because it's leading you to opportunity for action that's going to actually transform your life. This could really be a whole series with journaling. And if you would be interested in that, I could go into like the smaller micro things. And if you have questions, I could make a video answering a question. I made this an email this morning and I had someone respond back pretty quickly, but how do you keep people from reading your journal? And I was like, well, you can't. And so I can go into that if you want me to, because there's so many questions people have around journaling. But what I would like for you to do, just as like a little challenge to yourself, is to take a piece of paper, anything that's around you. It does not matter. Okay, I found like a piece of cardstock. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be a notebook, it can be a piece of trash, it can be a receipt, whatever. Take it and then write just one sentence of something that's been going on in your mind or your heart. What is it that's like top of mind right now? And then write it down. And then I want you to ask Jesus one quality question about it. Now, if you've never had this attunement is just a psychology word that means that you're sharing a same mind state as someone else. A lot of people get hung up on this attunement word. It's literally like if you have a friend that you hung around a long, long time, and let's say you see something as you're hanging out together and you both are like, y'all are sharing a mutual mind state. Like you can finish each other's sentences. You know what that person's about to say. It's a psychology term. It's real. It's scientific. It's a mutual mind state. You're sharing a mind state with the other person. You can have that with God. 1 Corinthians 2:16. It's super clear. Paul says, we have the mind of Christ. We literally can have a mutual mind state with the Lord. And Jesus constantly was saying, he who has ears, let him hear. Open your ears, incline your ear. He says that his sheep know his voice. Why would he say all those things if we weren't supposed to listen? And I'm not talking about audible voices, people. Very dangerous. You should not do that. I teach all of this in the Joy Revival, okay? But I want you to just kind of just incline your ears to the Lord. See if you can get quiet. And in that space where you have felt peace in your heart with Jesus, is he saying anything to you? Write it down. And then in that moment, asking him, what is it that you would rather me practice? What would be a thought, a really life-giving, abundant thought? And most of the time, it is going to come straight from the Bible. So that is just my little word vomit on journaling and how powerful it is, and the questions that you should be asking. Ask yourself questions. Here's the cool thing about questions. The Lord told me this a long time ago. And if you got my Joy Journey devotion way back when in Illustrated Faith, when she started launching those devotionals, I said it in there too. But in Revelation 2:17, it says, to him who overcomes, I will give the hidden manna. The hidden manna. Do you know what manna means? It means, what is it? What is it? The hidden, what is it? The hidden questions, that quality question that you need to ask. He's got it for you. He's got it for you, friend. I am really excited that I got to share a little bit in my heart about this analog life that I never left. I would love to hear how journaling has impacted you in the comments. If you have never thought about asking yourself questions about things, I would love to know that. If you would like me to make this a series where I talk specifically and pointedly at direct topics regarding journaling, if you have questions, put them in the comments. I will see if I can whip something together for y'all. But I would just encourage you, it doesn't cost a lot. It literally is a pen and some paper. You do not have to get all frilly with it. This artistic part of it is super fun. Do I love doing vignettes? Yes, because they're fast and they're like cheap. No Sweat Vignettes has the stickers there, the PDF that you can print out, the printable. So you have some stickers, and I teach you how to do all that stuff. So it's cheap, it's fast, it's fun, but you don't have to have that. You literally just need your pen, your paper, your own heart, and just take the time to do it. Just take the time and make that discipline in your life. I promise you it will change your life. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope it was helpful. If you want to take a peek inside Joy Revival, there's a 14-day free trial. You can totally check it out. Get in there, learn some about the attunement, learn about Emmanuel journaling. Let us love on you for a couple weeks. Even if it's a couple weeks, I'm totally okay with that. I just trust the Lord with who I'm assigned to and who comes into my life. And even if it's for a couple weeks, I just trust the Lord with all that. And I just want to give you an opportunity to just check it out, because you'll never know unless you check it out. Love y'all so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.